Hi, it's Lisa Cantalupo from lisacantalupo.com, sexyskinsleather.etsy.com. In this video, I am going to demonstrate how I make my leather flowers using a leather flower making kit that I created for some classes that I teach on how to make leather flowers. But before we go into the tutorial, just wanted to give you a quick background of how I started working with leather. I got my motorcycle endorsement in my first Harley Davidson. I decided I was going to make myself something to wear, which I did, and I wore it to these events and rallies. People stopped me to ask where I got what I was wearing. I'm like, oh, I should start a business. So that was the beginning of my leather crafting journey. Take a look at the tutorial. Any questions? Hit me up in the comments. I read them and I'll answer the best I can. This will be in your leather flower making kit. You get a nice big piece of leather. Here I am using acrylic templates. These are the ones that I used during the leather flower making class, but in your kit will be cardstock templates. I'm laying them out in such a way to conserve leather, just in case I want to reuse one of the templates to make an extra big flower. Here I am tracing out all the petals of the flowers. You don't have to do this. You can use a knife instead. It's really your choice. I'm going to speed up the video now to get to the next step. I'm removing the templates so that I can start cutting, but I realized I forgot something. I forgot to mark the 2 holes that are in the center of each flower petal template. So before you remove those templates, make sure that you mark those 2 holes. And now it's time to cut. I'm using a very sharp pair of scissors. They're not necessarily leather crafting scissors, but they're just sharp enough to get through the lambskin leather, which is what I am using. Because I did trace around the templates, there are obviously pen marks. I am trying to cut inside those pen marks, but if you can't, don't fret, because you can always go back and trim them up before we get to the molding part. When I'm creating these leather flowers for my customers, I do not use a template. I just freehand it. That's always an option for you as well. The cutting process took me about 10 to 15 minutes to complete, so I'm going to speed up this video to the next step. I have all my petals now, and I'm deciding whether I want to add more to the bunch or if I'm just going to go with what I have. For this next step, you will need a mallet, a hole punch, and a pounding board, or one of these. So I am going to line up the holes best I can. This goes next. I think I'm going to flip this way. And then I'm going to do this one this way or this way. Let's do it this way. And then this way. I'm arranging the petal layers so the holes line up with each other, but the petal layers do not. I'll zoom in so you can get a closer look. This way. All you do now is punch out the holes where those 2 marks are. Well, I think I got them all. Yeah, I did. And here. You'll need to use the paper clip that was included in your flower making kit. Open it up. And all through the holes. This is where you're going to need the stiffening agent that came with your kit. Make sure you shake that up good. And what you're going to do is just spray all the layers. As you can see, I have a tray underneath my flower so as to not make a big mess, and I highly recommend that you do this. And you want to make sure you spray each and every layer, and you want to get it good and wet. Spraying just the back side is sufficient. I'm going to speed up this part of the video just a little bit. I got them all. Make sure they're all wet. They look pretty good. And you just want to start pinching and rolling, pinching and rolling, pinching and rolling. What I'm doing here is I am pinching the leather and twisting it in between my fingers. It's a little tricky to do with the smaller sized flower petals. It's much easier to do with the larger ones. And I also recommend that you have like a paper towel or some cloth to kind of wipe off your fingers in between. It's a little bit messy. And it gets harder to do if your fingers are too wet. If they're also too dry, it's also a little bit harder to do. Now let's move on to the big ones. This part of the process took about 10 minutes. I'm going to fast forward a bit till we get to the bigger petals so you can get a better glimpse at the technique. Even though I was making my way towards the larger petals of the flowers, I still had to go back and readjust the smaller petals. It really is a work of art. You have to kind of make adjustments as you are creating and pinching and rolling and having fun. The larger petals are so much easier to mold, but they also tend to dry out a little bit because of the time it takes to get to them. So you're going to have to dip your fingers into the stiffening agent or respray a little bit just to get them a little bit moist and malleable so you can shape and mold them. I'm going to speed up this video so we can get to the end part of this process. All right, this is pretty good. Keep fluffing and pinching. I think I said 2 times that I'm ready to let this dry. It's very easy to get caught up in trying to make this perfect, but it's almost impossible to do. And you can just keep tweaking it and fluffing it and pinching it, but eventually you just need to say, okay, it's done. Time will differ depending upon your climate and how wet the flower ends up being. And I have so many projects on my table that I usually just let the flowers sit there while I work on something else. Sometimes they even sit overnight before I'm able to get to the next part. And once dry, take this. I am using the needle for this with a wide eye. Needle, string, and you can go into those same holes. Do that again. I'm gonna have to get the scissors. Come out. I'm missing a couple here. There it is. Okay. There we go. Okay. So then I pull this out. And then just tie this. Right. Right about there. I'm trimming the ends of these pieces to a point. A nice little point. You're not able to see it here in this video right now, but I did add some stiffening agent to these 2 ties. And what I'm doing is I'm just twirling them, shape them into something that would resemble stamen. And I'm going to speed this up. And here I am fluffing up some of the petals of the flower. I added a little stiffening agent to my fingers just to wet it a little bit. But this is the final step in the making of a leather flower. I'm going to speed this up to the end so you can see the final piece. And here is the final piece. I hope you enjoyed this video. Any questions you have, make sure you put them in the comments for me. I do read them and I'll answer best I can. If you want to purchase a leather flower making kit, I'll post the link to purchase one in the video description. If you like this video, make sure that you subscribe so you don't miss any future tutorials on how to craft with leather, such as how to make leather dragon scales. Please like, share, subscribe, tweet, whatever it is you cool folks do, and I'll see you next time. I am Lisa Cantalupo, and I make leather art you wear.